Welcome to the Comfortable in Chaos Podcast. Strangle your demons and let's go.
Y'all need Jesus!
JoJo was a man who thought he was a loner, but he knew it couldn't last. Yeah, President Joe. Say it isn't so. We've got to get you back home, Joe. President Biden. Times are definitely squirrely, man. Times are definitely squirrely. And let's spread out our webs from the spider. Ever reaching, ever more tacky, ever more grabbing, ever more expanding. You know where you're at, right? You're on the Comfortable in Chaos Podcast. I am your host, Eric Hellberg. Man, we have no special talents here. We're like Einstein. We're just passionately curious about all things pertaining to men. How in the hell did we get here? How in the hell did Joe Biden get there? And honestly, at this point, and building back better, I'm not really concerned about his journey, but I am concerned about our journey. Guys, we're going to go up and down like a Corps of Engineers levee here today. We're going to go up and down on different issues and kind of meander back and forth, but like a little bit of super glue, we're going to try to hold it together. However vaguely it may be, we're going to hold it together. And I want to start with President Biden. And really what the impetus for this whole show is to improve ourselves as men. But I have a feeling that my core audience is not sympathetic, but very much aligned in the similar concerns that I have for their country, for their family. We're not always sure how to approach the issues, especially if we are fundamentally lacking because of where we came from and or haven't put together the tools in our arsenal along the way to overcome some of these things. But we have a sincere desire to learn and get better. And sometimes because of the constraints placed on us from the greater world around us, we are blinded to that because we've all bought into the mantra. We've all bought into the ways of life. We've been inculcated in these ways. And in those pursuits, well, oftentimes we have neglected. We have become blind to see, deaf to hear the needs of those most precious to us and around us, and have refused to relinquish some of those pursuits because we didn't understand the true needs of our loved ones and or what that could actually do for our souls to have a more legitimate pursuit than the falsities of what it is we're actually trying to accomplish. Now, man, I said now, man, and of course I'm going to say now, men. That's a lifelong journey. Ultimately, our goal is to hear, and you hear me shuffling around. I'm just getting comfortable in my commander's chair. Remember that word, commander. Ultimately, we want to just simply hear, well done, good and faithful servant. It's not that you ever arrived. It's not that you ever truly conquered. How do you conquer the flesh? How do you conquer yourself? It is the effort. It is the consistency. It is the longevity. It is the refusal to give up, no matter the obstacle. Inhale, exhale. I'm smoking another cigar, guys. But that is the epitome of it all. That is why there is a narrow gate and a wide gate. And when you have a leader who is willing to stay within the confines of that narrow gate, hold on to them. Hold on to them. Whether that is your spouse, whether that is an elected official, maybe that is one of the handful of good men or women in the corporate setting. Notice I just said women. I think I'd rather have Golda Meir as the United States president, since we talked about our last episode, than Joe Biden. She never had it easy. But we have President Biden, the garnerer of more votes in American history. American history. 81 plus million votes. I would venture to say that would make him not only that, the largest vote getter in American political history. I would venture to say that that makes him the most popular man in American history. Now, is he the most popular man in American history? Maybe if you're a foreign government. I don't know. I mean, you can put a few biolabs in Ukraine. You can put your son on a few boards over there. Not only there, but I mean, gee whiz, go just north, right? In Russia as well. This family and these guys are receiving more checks than probably the Social Security Administration sends out on a weekly basis. They're all being uncovered. Yet, our president has no bite. America has no bite. The only person, or I should say entity, with bite in the White House, remember what I said earlier, my commander chair, is that doggone German Shepherd commander. He's biting everyone in the ass. He's had to be removed from the White House. He's the only person not only with a little bit of bark, but bite. We know that German Shepherd's bitten about 20 people. Yeah, but Jill said that commander's having a tough time. He's having a really tough time, and that's because he's had a lot of different handlers, poor commander. He's had to go up and down elevators, and when he goes poo-poo, people watch him on the South Lawn. It's a tough life for commander. Yeah, maybe that's what happened to Hunter. Yeah. Maybe that is what happened to Hunter. We know that when you don't have a strong male figure in your life, a man has to figure it out. And you've heard me say before, until a man finally realizes that he's a man, life becomes very difficult for all those people around him. And I would say that has happened for the people all around Hunter. And I would say that Hunter didn't have a masculine figure in his life. Certainly wasn't Joe Biden. And what's really terrible about that is we have regressed so far. And we know that Joe Biden in public will tell you he's compassionate, but behind the scenes, that's not a compassionate man. But I will tell you I have compassion for Joe Biden. He's so frail. Mental faculties have diminished to such a great degree. His activities of daily living, I used to run nursing homes. So his frailty extends to his physical prowess as well. The man can hurt. I mean, look at his gait. Study his gait. The way he moves demonstrates a certain degree of an onset of, you could call it dementia, a motor skill deficiency. Something is going on in that brain. Give the man a break. Whoever's really behind the scenes, give the man a break. And just like the beginning song said, let Joe go back home to Delaware. Right? So yes, let's get Joe back to Delaware. Let's get him back to that famous pub bar whereby its owner used to raise money for President Biden, and he used to be married to Jill at that time until the pursuit of prominence, the public eye, was very important to both of them. And once Joe set his sights on Jill, he took that young lady right from that bar owner. And the rest is history, as you may say. But we need to let our president go back home, because his frailty has extended to the American people, and everyone knows it. Yet despite being the most popular man in history, 81 million votes, the most minimal, smallest number of county victories ever occurred in that presidential election. Yeah. He had the most votes ever, 81 plus million. But yet he won the fewest counties in American history. That's really improbable. I guess it is possible. And you can extrapolate whatever you would like from that, but I will just simply put it as, let's just say that real America, and or you always hear the word heartland, but people with, I would say, more common sense values, less beat down by the rat race, maybe they just simply didn't support President Biden. Yeah, it's a matter of nature versus nurture. And I would say when the nature of a man is self-promotion and self-gain, he doesn't have time or interest to nurture. And there hasn't been a prostitute in the world that's been able to give Hunter that, or a line of coke that's been able to give Hunter that. It leaves a man deprived. And as a country, we are all paying the price. Now, taking it down to simply the 5-foot level as opposed to 30,000-foot level, we're all men aspiring to grow and become better. And if life is going so well for you because you are so self-focused, I would say that is probably a clear indicator that there is more that you're simply resistant to and or willingly choosing not to pay attention to because you're so good in one particular area. So what we're talking about in nature and nurturing is our families, our spouses, our better than us thens, our children, those that we want to be better than us thens. Remember, on the Comfortable in Chaos podcast, we're not just simply here talking about informational things in an entertaining bent. We want to grow as men. And I started telling you, I'm smoking a cigar. I'm back in town. I did an episode last night. I mentioned Golda Meir in it, and I was smoking a cigar then. Well, I finished it. I was sitting out at the pavilion leading to the back pasture at our house. It was starting to get chilly. I was in shorts and a t-shirt. I didn't even finish that smoke, so I brought it in and I set it right here on the by the stove on the kitchen island. My wife this morning's like, "Hey, Eric, you smoked a cigar last night?" And I'm like, "Yes, ma'am, I sure did." And she's like, "Well, good for you. That is cool. I haven't seen you smoke a cigar in a while." And guys, do you realize when you put an effort into actually seeing your spouse as opposed to yourself, it better allows them to see you? That is the nurturing that they crave. And we can get so busy. And when we're talking about lines of coke with Hunter Biden, me smoking a cigar and or dipping, you can almost become addicted to the process whereby you willingly choose not to to see them because you are doing so well and or so focused in your life. Yes, your life that provides for them, but also dismisses them. And that is that line in the sand whereby both sides need to meet and we need to draw closer. We have to simply look at ourselves and say, are we providing for our spouses and our kids spiritual, emotional, and intimate needs? And if you don't think so, or depravity hadn't slapped you right in the face to prod you to do so, well, start exploring it. It may be language you've never heard. You may think it's hokey, but I can tell you this. Your wife will see you 10 times better when you make an effort to actually see her. And when you set your half-smoked cigar on the stove, she's cool with it. Or guess what? Let me take a puff here. Should you choose not to do so and make glam, recognition, self-gain like President Biden has done the most important, well, you end up with a son like Hunter. And the organization that you choose to lead ends up like the United States of America. It all goes together. One may be micro and the other may be macro. Boy, oh boy, yeah. Lack of credibility in the family, lack of credibility as a leader, and it makes you very weak and ineffectual. And like Golda Meir said, when your enemy determines that you are weak, they will attack until you demonstrate otherwise. And that's why when she had that third army surrounded in the Sinai, actually right at the point of crossing the Suez Canal into Egypt, and that would have been Anwar Sadat's third army out of Egypt during the Yom Kippur War, she told Henry Kissinger, look, bro, yeah, you're a fellow Jew, but we know you have a fine line, a balancing act, which, you know, to a certain degree, all of politics is. Everything is interlocated and intertwined. Various organizations and factions involved. We know the stance you're taking, but I'm simply going to tell you this. That was approximately 30,000 men, and I'm going to make an army of orphans and widows if you don't bring me the right people to the table. And Henry, I will slaughter them all. Wow. Wouldn't you love to have a leader like that? As men, as husbands and fathers, aren't we expected to be shepherds and shields for our family? Wouldn't we do that for our family? And when you take on the leadership position of the United States of America, isn't it your family? Isn't it your job to protect them against the world? What the hell is wrong with borders, language, and culture? Golda Meir realized that. And in that respect, if I had a damn potential burglar who decided to come camp at my fence line, the perimeter around my property, but then somehow found a way to keep finagling his way closer, and now he's on my front porch. Now he's got a stick of TNT, dynamite, maybe just a couple of handguns, maybe a nice Kalashnikov variant from the street. At what point do I get concerned? I mean, he's not in my house yet. And for that, you guys are worried about Vladimir Putin simply taking care of his country? You want to take care of your family, right? I mean, my gosh, You've got Hunter Biden on the Ukrainian Burisma board. You've got Joe Biden and Fauci before him putting more biolabs in Ukraine than ever before. Yeah, you haven't heard about that, right? You're putting literally weapons of mass destruction on his border, and now you're mad at him for him taking effective action to protect his own people? Come on, give me a break. I know the guy might ride around on horses without a shirt. I know he may throw a few world leaders around because he's got a black belt in judo. But what's wrong with having a strong leader? Since we don't have one, we'll embrace Golda Meir. She's the kind of leader that America needs. And I would think everyone's ready for a woman president, right? Right? Wouldn't that make everyone happy? Well, I would love to have one if it was someone like Golda. Now, since we're speaking about Israel, to Joe's credit, or whoever winds him up, points him in the right direction, gives him the right Skechers to wear so his feet remain soft and supple, they haven't condemned what Israel is doing. But you notice, even in mainstream media, the narrative is petering out. We don't hear too much about the barbarism, the savagery, the animalistic behavior. It's even worse than that. Would we lose 3,000 approximately in the direct attacks on 9/11 without going back to the numbers? How those buildings actually got evacuated with on any given business day, we have 50,000 people working in those towers back then, but approximately 3,000 dead directly in that attack. And to the American conscience, that was extremely gruesome. People jumping out of the upper story windows, disintegrating upon impact. But you know what these savage Hamas people did to Israel, right? Burning women, burning babies, sodomizing. I don't even want to say all the words, what they're doing. And these weren't even combatants. These are people that they stole and are now hiding behind to try to disrupt the IDF or Israeli Defense Forces from taking proactive action. Well, Joe hasn't condemned that, but I'll tell you who has, and that is an amazing fact. Actually, there is a faction within Joe's base. There is a faction, and I believe it is U.S. Representative Rashida Tlaib. Rashida Tlaib, a pro-Palestinian representative from the state of Michigan. Did you know she is now saying that her fellow Democrat, Joe Biden, is committing genocide by not condemning Israeli actions to protect their own people? That's certainly a new twist, a new nuance in looking at this. Okay. Well, that tells me there are some other factors at hand. And really, there's so many prominent Jewish people within the Democratic Party, and they have boatloads of money. And I would say, though, now they've turned a blind eye to some of the things that have adhered them together in the past, and they realize what has happened to their homeland, whereby God made covenant with them generations upon generations ago. And you know that old saying, blood is thicker than water. The tides are changing, though, because men that listen to this show and men around the world are awake and not woke. Derivatives of the same word. We are awake but not woke. What's more important, we would like to be better husbands. We would like to be better fathers. We would like to be better leaders in general, and we want better leaders for our own country. And it starts right here in our own community. So we are awakened, not Woken. That's actually a slogan that I took from a small business owner in my community, a guy by the name of Michael Manuel. And he owns a boutique called La Ti Da. A lot of women like to buy unique and novel gifts there, I should say, clothing, and men can get cool stuff there as well. So we are awake and not woke. But right now, we're in hiding. We're hiding all the checks that keep coming through Joe's brother, all the things that Hunter has done, and we're on the run. We're on the run. We're giving all that money to Ukraine. Zelensky's already put $200 million of it in his own pocket. Prominent and powerful American defense interests have already received all that money that we allocated. Yes, it went across the seas, but it's already come back into U.S. coffers. That's the nature of war, and that's how it works. That's why we need to reserve it for when it is just and for when it is right. So President Biden, let's stop hiding behind Ukraine. Negate all of our interests there. Let Europe sort that out. And they will. And you will find peace upon that continent quicker than you could have ever imagined. We know you're involved in lots of stuff. Just let it be. Finish up, ride off into the sunset, go take commander for some new dog obedience classes, and leave us alone. We've been supporting you for 40 years. We know we have to support you when you leave. But let's hurry and expedite this deal. Do the right thing. Do the right thing. It's no different than in the past. My gosh. We had to do Ukraine. Let's finish Ukraine. It's a losing cause. It's a losing cause for every single one of us. America is in shambles. Stop sending money over there. It's no different than when our good old friend Jeffrey Epstein, now deceased. Of course, he has a beautiful oil painting. I don't know who confiscated it, where they put it, of Billy. And I like to say Billy. I like saying Billy Bob because I'm kind of a country boy. I like saying Billy Bob Clinton. Billy Bob Clinton. Yeah, Billy Bob's laid back on the Barca lounger there. Blue dress. We know where the blue dress comes from, the high heels. And old Jeff was basically saying, man, for as brilliant of a guy as you were, you went to Georgetown. The hot springs machine got you into power. But I've got you, you son of a gun. I've got you. Miss Lolita and all. But what did Bill do? Damn, man. Because of that blue dress, he decided to take a big group of Christian Serbs, bomb the hell out of them, support the KLA, the Kosovo Liberation Army, which were Islamic extremists on our terrorist watch list. The way they funded themselves were through the heroin trade, and believe it or not, back sweetheart deals with good old Osama bin Laden. It's amazing how we ebb and flow in accordance with whatever it is we're trying to do. No one can simply take a stand. But yeah, we had to bomb those guys. So because you dropped your pants, Bill, you had to drop some bombs on Belgrade, Christian Serbs over there? Give me a damn break. Guys, like I said, we're going to be awake and not woke. And we're going to hold people's feet to the fire. But you know where we're going to begin? We're going to begin with constance of character, spirit, and soul, beginning with ourselves, our communities, and not all these external interests, which are not designed to help us at large. And going back to Epstein and that Lolita's Express, well, looks like another Billy Bob's in the crosshairs now, and that's Billy Bob Gates. My goodness, we've learned a lot about Mr. Gates, but now he's up fighting allegations of rape. Now I know anyone can be accused of anything at any time, but there's some patterns of behavior here. And when the American people start noticing patterns of behavior that are disadvantageous for them, I think we're realizing we have the mechanism for action. And the first one is to simply call you out. So until next time on the Comfortable in Chaos podcast, I wish you bon voyage, my burgeoning flock.
Until next time, like and subscribe to the Comfortable in Chaos podcast.